For today's talk, we are absolutely thrilled to have with us Eunice Olsen, who is a powerhouse of a woman. She was the former Miss Universe Singapore, and then she went on to become a nominated member of Parliament. She's now also an entrepreneur with her own media company, and in between she has done a million other things. She has volunteered with incredible organizations, really made an impact, and it truly is a champion of female empowerment and women supporting women. So we're absolutely thrilled to have her with us today. So please put your hands together for Eunice. Come.
Hi everybody.
Hi.
Thank you so much. Hi Gwen. This is comfy and nice.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me
To have you. Let's jump straight in then.
Sure. Yes, we have half an hour, right?
We have half an hour. Maybe let's start with a big question. What does the concept of mentorship mean to you?
Yeah, thanks for that. I think everybody's a little bit different, and for me, I think it also evolved over the years. When I was younger, I think when I was younger, we never really had this terminology. So I think the first kind of mentor, the person who gave me some of guidance in my life, my parents obviously, but my mom, I come from a family of very strong women. My grandmother was a small business owner. She sold salted vegetables at the market in Serangoon Gardens, and she had to run a household, and she was the oldest daughter-in-law. So she had to support the entire family. So, my mom also comes from a family of like 6 sisters.
Wow.
Yeah, so many women in the family. And my mother is very special because a lot of the things that I now kind of practice in my life and a lot of things that I kind of knew were always from her. So for example, she would tell me, you're brought up Catholic, but it's not about religion. It's about how you treat other people. It's not about how often you go to church. So I apologize to any Catholics that I'm offending here. Clearly, I don't go to church. Perfect excuse. No. So it was really always about how you treat other people. So that became a very big part of my life. Always remembering that it's how you treat others. It doesn't matter who they are. So I'm not easily impressed with people, but I'm always very impressed when people are very kind to other people. And you look at them, you say, this is what I want to be. So my mom's always kind of drilled that into my head. And at some point in time, she also told me, and I'm not sure whether I should share this, but it's okay. I promise I'll be honest with you. She's like, don't worry about marrying a rich man. You better just build a name for yourself. You want to be Mrs. So-and-so, is it? You better go and build a name for yourself. Don't worry about all these rich men and marrying a rich man. Because at that time, there were a lot of my classmates going like, you should try to meet some of these ACS boys. And anybody from ACS? Sorry. I was from ACJC, so I can say, okay? I have many ACS boys who are my friends. So, there was a lot of that as well. And so my mom has always kind of been there. And then even now, like sometimes when I go through difficult times, especially as an entrepreneur, I don't know if, so I'm sure and many of you here, and it's not just about being an entrepreneur. Life has ups and downs, right? And she's always like, when I kind of, not complain, but complain to her, like, it's very hard and stuff like that. And she's like, your life very hard, huh? Very hard, your life. You do all this volunteer work, huh? You see all these people, so difficult, their lives, but your life very hard, huh? It's like, I guess
God, she's
not.
Brutal.
Yeah. She's like that. So she kind of like says that, and I know it's out of love and she's not, but like, she just wants me to know that like it's about perspective.
Yeah.
And she's always told me don't compare, because like when I was younger, she said I would never compare you. You just do. Everybody has their own journey. So just coming a big round your question, yes. I think my mother was always, and she still is. So I think the concept of mentorship for me is not just like I specifically ask one person to be my mentor. But I think it's about spotting people in your life who are there to support you, whose values that you can align with, and who are not afraid to tell you the truth. Not in a way that it's like, there's constructive and there's non-constructive, right? But the people who are not afraid to tell you what you don't want to hear, but at the same time help you figure out what to do next. Actually, I'm so sorry. I just want to say one more thing. Actually, the one person who's here with me today, Frances, has been working with me since 2006. She's a little bit older than me, and I think she's also one of the mentors in my life. So like I said, it's about spotting people along the way who will, like, you know, you just align with, and you just feel like they can be honest with you. So yeah, sorry.
I think that's I mean, there's so many things in there that I want to dive deeper into already. I mean, I think our upbringing, of course, makes a very big impact on the kind of people that we become. And your mother sounds terrifying, but honestly, I feel like a lot of us who have Asian moms are like, yeah. But we also need that, right?
Yeah.
You know, just to have that rock and that stability.
Yeah.
I think it just helps to ground us and remind us that no matter how bad the storm is, someone is always rooting for you.
Yeah.
But you also pointed out a lot of other aspects that I think are very important to look for in a mentor. Someone, you said, who will tell you the truth, or who is not afraid to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But you also brought up the fact that it has to be in a constructive way.
Yeah.
And I think especially in your line of work, having been through beauty pageants, having been through politics, having been through entrepreneurship, there are a lot of people out there who I think want to be your friend, you know, maybe because because of your position or because of the industry that you're in. How do you then look for that sense of authenticity in people?
Wow, that's a very loaded question. No, you're absolutely right though. I think I don't know many of you here, but as I grow older, I just don't have time for things that are not authentic. Without saying the bold word, I just feel like you kind of know as you grow older who you want to give your energy and your time to. And I think for me, it's important to have these authentic connections. Actually, the company, what we do is I kind of train in verbal communications, and I train in authentic communications. So it's not about being perfect, because even in algorithms, they actually like it when it's not perfect, because we're human, right? And so humans make mistakes and we fail. And and really, I think the funny thing is what you said is, when I was younger, when I first coming from the beauty queen background, and of course the first show that I did in media was Wheel of Fortune. What a great resume to enter Parliament with, right? I mean, beauty queen, the Vanna White of Singapore, amazing. But that was in everybody else's heads except mine, because I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, going into the media gave me the opportunity to. At that time, I was working with girls at a home. They are a juvenile institution, so they're sent there by the family court. So I was volunteering there. But the moment I went into the media, I realized I can use this platform to speak about things that I love. So in my mind, it all made sense, right? And then even the Miss Universe pageant actually made me go towards volunteering, because at that time, it was 2000, so the Miss Universe pageant was kind of designed in a way that the winner would go around and work for the cause of AIDS or breast cancer. This is like 25 years ago. Oh my God, I'm so old. But no, it's okay, good, right? I mean, when you go older, you get wisdom, exactly. So I'm really happy I'm in my 40s. I don't want to go back to my 20s anymore. And in my head, it was my way into volunteering, because I wanted to use that year as a platform to do something useful, just be useful. And it kind of introduced me into volunteering. So in my head, it all made sense. But like, everybody else was like, wow, she's beauty queen, and having this background. And at the beginning of my career, I must say that not everybody was nice to me. I get this, in Chinese, 小妹妹, right, little girl, with this background of the media, and so there were a lot of condescending conversations, and people who talked down to me, and people who left me out of conversations. But you see, I mean, all these things happen for a reason, because what I do today is, I kind of tell women that, like, in communications, actually one of the biggest barriers in communications for women is the gender barrier. And there are actually statistics and numbers behind this. So it's not you, it's not us. It definitely not. So over the years, and I think because there are people that are nasty to you, and there are people that are also who are nice to you and shine very brightly, you kind of still you develop the compass to going towards these people.
Yeah.
And when you're younger, you might not always trust this compass. You might not always trust your intuition. But as you grow older, it gets stronger, and you go like, this is my tribe, and this is who I want to hang out with. and like you start to spot these things without being able to be so tangible about it.
Yeah.
But you're right though, but there is always that layer of, not layer, but there's always that authentic kind of personal. So you spot that a lot, I mean, as you grow older. And I think the most important thing is to know that it's okay to not be friends with everybody. And it's okay to not get along with everybody, because all of us have kind of people that we will gravitate towards, and everybody's different. So.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to learn, I think, when we pick up on, because, you know, all of us want to be liked, all of us want to be accepted, all of us want to be part of a tribe.
Yeah.
But that sometimes the ironic part is that in order to be inclusive, you have to be exclusive too. You have to know who you are not and who you don't want to associate with, or certain values, right?
And I'm just going to add something here. And you know, when people, you don't associate with them, just wish them well on their journey. That's okay. We don't get along, and that's fine, because everybody's different, right? So you might find your own tribe, and I will. But just wish them well. Like, you know, don't harbor anything bad. It's in it. And I think very importantly for women, you must know that it's not you. I mean, like a lot of times when I ask, like even senior leadership, like, you know, anybody who's been kind of put down or disregarded or kind of closed out of conversations, and a lot of them raise their hand. I mean, I would raise my hand many times, right? So it's not you. It's, you know, just know that there are people out there who will support you and who will guide you and who will be part of your tribe. But there's some that are not, and that's okay.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the concept of who you want in your tribe also changes as you grow up, right?
Yeah.
So coming back to this idea of mentorship, how has your idea of what a good mentor maybe looks like changed from when you were younger to now?
You know, just now when we were chatting in the morning, and I said, I thought about this yesterday, right? And I looked at my journey, and it's not like I've had a lot of mentors in my life, but I've had some. And 20 years ago, how I would choose a mentor is very different from the mentor that I have now. You know, you think like, oh, because the person is really successful in his career or has, you know, is recognized in that field and all that. I'm like, yeah, you know, it could be a similar field or even a different field. Like, yeah, I think, you know, that's what I'm going to go for. And
you look at
really
the CV, right?
I was like, damn. I think I have a mentor now, and I met him at an event that I was actually speaking at. And it was really his humility that I was so impressed with. I mean, I don't know whether the word impressed to use, because I mean, it's not like he should impress me or anything like that, but I was just so like taken with the fact that he was just so humble, even though he's very low key, but it's done, you know, a lot, and it's very different. I think, okay, so there's so many things I want to say, and that's why I paused for a while. In 2013, I did a course with the Harvard Kennedy School, and it was a course on leadership. And one of our lecturers introduced this idea to us that I thought was quite interesting. It's called the board of directors. Like every company has your board of directors, so you can have a personal board of directors as well. So it doesn't have to be one person, but it could be, and it doesn't have to be a lot of people, but it could be a few people that you, like I said, you know, you align your values with, you know, who can tell you the truth and can kind of support you along the way. And they could be from different kind of walks of life. Right, so I have a few of these people kind of in my board of directors. I think they know they are, right? Anyway, so I'm coming back to your question again. This mentor of mine that I have, really I felt that like what he's done in his life, and he's very humble, he does a lot for the community. But I think the most important thing is that he makes time for me. And I know this is like, you know, maybe it could be a little point, but I think it's important to find a mentor that makes time. You know, my previous mentors in the past, I would see them once a year, and then I have to go through their secretaries to make an appointment with them. So he makes time for me, and he makes an effort to ask me out. And he has a plan in his mind. In fact, the first time we met and I asked him to be a mentor, I was like, oh, can you please be my mentor? And I mean, I didn't ask him on that day. I asked him like a little bit later. We kept in touch and all that. It wasn't like, oh, hello, do you want to be my mentor? No, not so much that. And then his answer came back, and he was like, I would like to know why. Why did you choose me? And what is your plan for this? Like, what do you want out of this mentor-mentee relationship? So I was like, oh, I had to think of an answer, right?
Interview time.
Yeah, it wasn't just like, oh, please be my mentor. No, there needed to be a plan.
Yeah.
So firstly, I needed to kind of pitch. I had to pitch to him, like why I wanted him to be my mentor, and I had to kind of say these are the expectations. This is what I'm hoping for. This is where I want to go and stuff. And so he has a completely different background from me. Like my background is in media and now it's verbal comms, right? But he's always been in finance, right? And actually he's an auditor, so you can imagine he's like everything has to be substantiated, and he's very hard on like numbers and stuff. So he was ex-auditor. So after that he said, I'm going to think about it. I was like, oh, okay. So he took 2 weeks. Wow. And then he replied me 2 weeks later, and he's like, okay, I've agreed, but we have to meet, and there needs to be a plan.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, how are we going to measure this? Like, what are you looking at? How often are we going to meet? What do you expect from this like mentor-mentee relationship? You know, what do you want me to guide you in? And he would come prepared. He like, okay, so this week, what do you want to talk about, right? Or this time that we're meeting, what do you want to talk about? So I have to update him on a regular basis. So it's like, be careful what you wish for, okay? I have to update on a regular basis, like because the one good thing that he did right at the beginning, he said, this mentor-mentee relationship, nothing that is said here goes even to my wife. He said, it's just the two of us. You know, and it was absolute trust from the onset. And I knew that I could be absolutely honest with him because I was going to discuss numbers with him, right? And he was very concerned about the business and, you know, what we were doing, what was our pipeline, and it was very stressful. So he's like, so any new clients? Yes. I mean, you know, so there was absolute trust all the way. So, I mean, just big round answering your question. I think there needs to be trust, there needs to be alignment. He needs to actually give a damn, make time for you, and I think really like have a little bit of a plan, and also I think very importantly is that you have to acknowledge what your blind spots are. I think this is very important, and it's very hard because it takes a lot of like reflection, and Francis does that a lot with me when I'm like, okay, what am I missing? Like, you know. So I mean, you need a lot of that, and it's hard to do because. So I would say get somebody that you really trust that you can, you know, be very honest with and do this really hard. You don't do it all the time. It's not like every day we're like, okay, what's missing, you know? But do this like regularly, and then really find. So he's completely opposite of me. He's really numbers driven, you know, and he's like really hard on that, right? It's not. There's no like, oh, I think I feel. It's like, what is the?
Yeah.
So I think I need a little bit of that in my life. Right, and I never came from a finance background, so I had to learn about investing and things like that. I had to follow people who invested and just understand investing, and so he's good at. So he helps me to understand that as well. You know, so I think just also recognize your blind spots. So the work has to be done before the mentorship, but also then the work has to be done with the mentor as well. And I'm not saying that you have agreed with everything that your mentor, your board of directors say. But I mean, you got to know also to take it on board and go, okay, which part I can work on and which part I think maybe later, or which part I disagree with, and then have a conversation about it. So we've had disagreements before, you know, on certain issues, but it becomes, and I think this is what our society needs. We need to be able to agree to disagree and say why we have different opinions, and that's okay, right? So I mean, he does that a lot with me as well, and I'm very appreciative. I'm supposed to see him on Wednesday and report about this thing, but anyway, yeah.
You're doing great.
So how was it? How many people showed up? Oh God. Okay.
Full house. Maybe before we go on, actually, I'm very interested because how many people here consider, or how many people feel that they have a mentor in their lives? Just quite a few, maybe about like half the room or so. I guess what I'm also interested in is, I mean, for you, it's a very direct thing, right? You just went up to him and you were like, hi, can you be my mentor?
I guess I wouldn't have known this maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, right?
I just want to touch on that because how do you even if you do spot somebody who you feel like, oh, this person would be a really good mentor in my life, how would you approach that conversation?
Okay. Don't do what I did. No, I didn't ask him on that day itself to be my mentor, but I went up to him and I kind of spoke to him, and he was actually waiting around, you know, to speak, and then I went up to him and I spoke to him, and he's just, and of course there was this guy beside him who I think was, who was kind of following around that night, and he was like, yeah, so he's done this and that. And then I was like, oh, I said, it's very nice to know, like, and it was just a conversation. And I think that's the thing, right? I think a lot of times when we try to network, I think it's just about building a relationship. And I think for me, that's more important, understanding that in that conversation, it's not about being friends, but like, can we kind of, for lack of a better word, click, right? And it was just about having a normal conversation between two human beings, finding out more about him, so just asking him like, what do you do and what are you doing now, and just trying to understand what he does. And so in that conversation, I think he told me about some of his work and also what he's doing with the community. And I think that really struck me because community is very, very, it's deeply embedded in my heart. And I'll always learn something, kind of working and being in the community. I don't know, that's why I believe in volunteering, because it always hits you more than you think that you've done, actually. And it's people give you like kind of the privilege to serve in their life. Yep. And so he really, I felt that from him. And so I was just trying to have a conversation. I wasn't thinking of like trying to, get his name card or anything. I was just trying to have a conversation. And I think that's very important, like exactly what you said just now about building these authentic connections. So it was just that, right? I was just trying to have a conversation. And then through that, we kind of exchanged contact. And then I went home and thought about it, and I was like, wow, I think this is maybe, and I have not had a mentor in a while. And I thought maybe this is the guy, because it was everything that I didn't have, and I thought, okay, I think this is kind of what I want to be good at. I want to be better at like numbers, and I want to be better at investment, and I think this is my blind spot, and I need somebody like that. So I think I don't know, I think it's also acknowledging like what you need to be better at and finding that person.
Know yourself before you...
And then I just sent him, in the email, so I thought maybe a bit more formal, right? So we exchanged contacts, and then I sent him an email, and I asked, just say, it was very nice meeting you. I remember this. And thanks for that, conversation and kind of telling me about what you do. And I was just wondering whether, can I ask you if I have the honor of you being my mentor? And please let me know if I can address any questions. I guess, he took it seriously. Any questions or concerns or anything that I can clarify. I kind of try to do that so that I leave the conversation open. And then he then wrote back and like wanted all these things, which I then told him,
No, that sounds like it's really a mutual relationship, right? Where both of you are also putting in the work. You're putting in the work, you're putting in the work. And it becomes a true partnership. I think is...
like I said, I know this is underestimated, but time is something that I think is the best resource that we can give to anybody, whether in volunteering, whether in friendships, whether in family. But in mentorship, I think this is so key. It's not just time like, oh, let's meet up, but it's time with a plan. But I think just finding that time, because everybody, like nobody's not busy, right? Everybody's always busy or trying to be busy. So I think that resource of finding time to give to somebody, I think that is very precious. So that's why I said what I said, where it's a privilege, because even in volunteering, when you volunteer with an organization, the beneficiaries give you their time. So it's a privilege that you have, that somebody is allowing you to step into their life. So it's the same way, right, that he's stepping into my life, but I'm also kind of stepping into his, right? So I just consider that very precious and, just amazing about what human beings, when we support each other, we can do. And I think this is, this is something that AI won't replace, It's that interaction, that supportiveness, that genuine connections, that authenticity. I think that's something that we are... In fact, it's shown that human civilizations have survived because of kindness and compassion and helping each other. So I think this is something that is just, I find it very precious,
Yeah, absolutely. Before we end off, I also want to talk, we talked a lot about what a good mentor looks like, right? Some of the qualities that you look for in other people. Maybe from the other side, what makes a good mentee?
What makes a good mentee? Okay, just from my experience, because I just thought that's more relevant and maybe I can share that with you. It really is about having a plan. Like when you ask your mentor, I think you have to have it in your head why this person and what do you want out of it? Like, what do you want? What are the outcomes that you want? You might not know exactly what the destination is, because we all don't know what the destination is, but kind of have a rough idea, like, I think this is where I want to get to, and this is, and you can work it out with your mentor what it takes to get there. Right? But have a plan, and I think before each meeting also kind of preempt them. And this is very important, right? In communications, I always tell people, please preempt, right? This is what I think we can talk about this time, so that it gives the person some perspective and time to prepare and say, okay, you know, I'm sure they can speak off the cuff or whatever it is, but it's nice when they say, oh, and then he brings books for me to read. Oh my God, I haven't read like quite a few of them. But he brings like these books, and he's like, here, I think you should read this. And then he's like, yeah, I think you should. So I do read some of the thinner ones. But like, yeah, I think it gives them time to say, okay, you know, in this discussion, this is what I think you should need and all that. So I think really having like a plan and setting what the expectations, what you expect, or also asking them, you know, and I think it's not just about me, right? It's also asking them, like, you know, I mean, obviously I don't think I can help him in anything, but I'll always offer, like, if there's anything that, you know, your community to work, anything that you need from me, please let me know. I'm happy to volunteer or whatever. So I always offer, try to offer back as well. So remember that it's not just a one way, it's also showing that you want to be involved, or at least offer to be involved in the things that they're doing, or at least volunteer yourself for something.
No, that's amazing. Before we open the floor up to questions, I'm sure you guys are bursting with questions. Eunice, you also, I think you prepared a slide where you kind of summarize some of your points.
I'm very big on call to action.
We love call to action.
Sorry, I feel like speaking is just one thing, right? I mean, I don't really like doing this. I mean, just speaking and it's like, okay, thanks, bye. You know, I feel like it's important to like have something to do going forward.
Have a plan.
Yeah, have a plan. Yes, have a plan. Okay, the plan doesn't always go according to, but you just at least kind of know the direction, which brings me to the first one, which is the legacy exercise. So in personal branding, I make kind of people do this legacy exercise, and the exercise, actually, if you want, please let me know. I mean, I don't want to put it all here because it's like a lot. It basically is to say the year is 2150. I don't think most of us are going to be around, right? 2150, and your school or your country has enacted a plug of you, a plug of you in the hall or in the Hall of Fame. And what do you want written on that plug? Like, what do you want that legacy to be? And most of the time when I did this exercise, I've done a more morbid one where it's kind of it's your funeral. It's actually an acting exercise where it's your funeral and you're standing there giving the eulogy for yourself. It's very morbid. Please don't do it. So the legacy exercise is a little bit more like, you know, somebody has enacted a plug of you. What do you want written on the plug? And I think if you do that, I mean, look, we don't know that's going to be it, right? But you kind of think about what is important to you. And that's where you understand kind of like, who do I want to be? What kind of person do I want to be for society, for my country, for the world? And I think that's what's important for me to do and to say. And the things that you write down, it's not like how much you have in your bank account, okay? It's like, what kind of people do you want to be to others? That was for me. So I think doing the legacy exercise is important because it kind of gives you a general direction of where you want to head to. And then you go, okay, now I got to figure out who can help me get there. Then it helps you figure out, okay, you know, these are the kind of people or mentors or board of directors that I'm looking for. And then after you've done the legacy exercise, then you identify kind of your values, your strengths, and your blind spots. And I think it's important because you want to find people who can kind of align with you in that, right? Values that they also think that are important to them, you know. And I say blind spots because I don't believe like just a weakness is a bad thing, because I think for me the language is very important as well, because the language feeds back into the mindset and the mindset predicates the language, right? So it's blind spots, and all of us have them, right? So figure out what these blind spots are, and if you don't know, ask somebody who's like close to you and just say, you know, honestly, can you tell me like what do you think that I need to do better at? And that's okay, because all of us have these blind spots. And then it gives you an idea also like who can help you to kind of, you know, close those gaps. And so, you know, towards like who the people you're going to ask. And then either build a board of directors. A small board of directors can be like 2 or 3. It could be from different walks of life. But the idea is that they align with your values, they're willing to tell you what you don't want to hear, but also they're willing to say, and give suggestions about how you can get there. And I think the important thing is to focus on quality and not the numbers. But the other thing is to also say, like, when they give you suggestions and all that, right? Like I said, if you don't agree, it's okay. But ask yourself, why did they say that? And is it something I don't want to acknowledge, or I feel, because sometimes you have this gut feeling that goes like, no, I don't, like, I don't think this one, I think I'm okay. And you can check with other people, right? But I think it's also important to trust your gut, because you can't also ask 80 people's opinions and then try to incorporate everyone. That's also not going to work. So yeah, I mean, that for me was important, to do the legacy exercise, identify your value, strengths, blind spots, and then, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Sorry.
No. I think this is great, right? Because I think sometimes it's easy to talk about these big concepts, and it's like, oh yeah, that's nice. Yeah. But then how do you start? How do you make sure that you do it right? So thank you so much for putting this together.
And sorry, can I just add one more thing? Don't be afraid to approach people. Don't be afraid to approach people. Just don't be, because the most you're going to get a no, right? But don't be afraid, especially, and I only say this because there's hard truths behind and research behind this. Women tend to do that. We don't like to ask other women for favors, or just people for favors in general, because we are afraid that it'll destroy relationships. Just don't be afraid to ask. And even if you don't know that person, ask somebody who knows and say, and give the reason, not just like, can you introduce me, but more like, can you introduce me because I'm looking for a mentor and I feel like this person aligns with my values, fits the description, and I would like to at least have a conversation with them, and then just don't be afraid to ask, because and just support each other more. I always say this at all my talks. I feel like we really need to support each other more. It's a hard world. We're so coddled in Singapore. It's ridiculous. And just, not just, we don't even have to go all the way to like Palestine. It just, even in other countries around us, they don't have it as good. So the fact that we're here, it's such a privilege. Let's support each other and just be stronger together. And for me, that's really, really, just be stronger together, because I always feel like it's always the little things that we do together that makes the bigger difference, right? But as human beings, we got to support each other better. And women, we got to stand together like stronger.
Thank you so much, Eunice.